Good morning. Welcome into the Johnston RV Center Saturday preview from parts all across. I'm in Mobile. Lance and Jim, of course, back up in Birmingham. What is up, boys? How's everybody doing today?
Doing great, man. I hope you're doing great down there in Mobile. I hope you had a good, what is it, family weekend going on?
It is Parents Weekend with my daughter's sorority. So we've got Butch Jones and Arkansas State in town. So I'll go watch the Jays play Arkansas State today at 4 o'clock. That's our kick time here. 4 o'clock.
Are you going to make sure you got mybookie.ag little action on that game?
What's that? Do you don't have a play on it, do you?
Nope.
Oh, you got a tip for me? You got a tip?
Arkansas State's been pretty hot. I don't know.
The Jays are favored. I looked at the number earlier. What do you think?
Double digits, I think. They're favored double digits, aren't they?
I think that was right. I saw it earlier.
Should be around 10.
Dunaway, are they on your board? Do you have a board today, or do you have to sleep in after doing hoops?
No, I've got a small board, 5.
All board? Okay.
5 plays. And they're good plays, though. I like them. I like Vandy. I like Auburn. I like Florida State, Rutgers, and the Ducks. I don't know if the plays are good, but the logos are great.
Yeah, I love you picking my logos. South Alabama, 13.5-point favorite, total of 55 is what I'll get to see here today. I did visit with Coach Womack when I got here yesterday. He told you boys to hello. Kane Womack, one of the good young coaches in America, great guy. I mean, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And he told me to tell you boys hello. So I got to deliver some next round gear to Coach.
That's awesome. I just one observation there of when I showed my board. Lance has some plays up at lanceslike.com. He gave a nice little smile when he saw my board. So that would tell me that would tell me you 1 or 2 of the logos you're on the opposite side of that. You didn't see them? You didn't hear them?
I saw them, yeah, but I didn't know what a couple of the logos were until you actually pointed them out.
Yeah, Vandy, Rutgers, Florida State, Auburn, and the Ducks.
Yeah.
So
well, let's start with this. Todd says, great job, Jim, last night on Bama Hoops. I saw you describe that as basically a lifelong dream come true for you last night.
Yeah, I never wanted to be the local news sports guy or even do talk radio. I mean, talk radio came later on. When I met you, Brownie, and heard the way some other people did it and thought we could do it better. And then when we met Lance, we found even a better way to do it. So that sort of evolved. But when I was little, the dream was to be a play-by-play guy. And, I've learned I don't really have that skill set, and it's not that, it's so difficult to do. But last night was fun. I'm glad I get to do it on a one-off. It was a dream come true to be to sit in that chair and do it. It was an entertaining game early on. Passink had joked with me before about the landmine, and Indiana State hit 3 threes over extended 6'10", 6'11" arms to start the game, and it was 9-0. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and we almost cut the cord and sent me home. But Alabama rallied for the win, but it was fun.
Yeah. I got to Lance. I was driving around between events last night. There was a event for my daughter's sorority, and then we went to dinner. And I caught some of the game. He sounded good, man. I know you probably weren't out and about and didn't get a chance to hear it, but he sounded good.
I did not. But yeah, I saw a lot of comments. So congratulations, Dunaway. Seems like a lot of fun.
It was fun. Nate made it really enjoyable for me. I had to go up got to go up and interview him pregame. And I didn't know this. I assume he does it every home game. It seemed like everybody, was not surprised he was doing it. But he gets a full, hard sweat workout in before every game. So he gets a workout in, and I was supposed to interview him at 5:30 and be on the air at 6. He is not back to his office out of the shower until 5:48. I'm sitting there. All right, what do I do? Do I not do the interview to go start the show? Because Passink had told me, I'm the analyst, dude. I'm not doing any of that Chris Stewart stuff. So if you're not here, we'll just sit in dead air. So it all worked out. But I was like, dang, man, he works out before every game, gets a good sweat going. I guess it relieves some stress.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's no doubt. I think that's what that's got to be.
Hey, LT, do you think Dunaway gave Nate one of these like he does us? One of the
Well, he wasn't even there. Stephen Gonzalez, the guy who handles Nate, I was like, hey, Stephen, it's 5:47. where should I be? Because we're getting to the point where even if it's a 3-minute interview, we still got to get back downstairs to the court.
That's where Steven said, God, Chris Stewart's not so high strung, man. Settle down. It was all right.
And it was funny. The guy who's producing the show, sort of driving everything, Todd, when I walked back onto the floor, it's 3 minutes to airtime. And he gave me this. He literally gave me the hand signal. He's like, and I was like, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
All right, Johnston RV Center, I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur, always online. JohnstonRVCenter.com is where you find them online. They've just returned from that Forest River Expo where they've seen all the great floor plans. Those are arriving, so they're going with the call of fall right now to clear out that lot. You can still go see America this fall with an RV from Johnston RV Center. They have got the fifth wheels as much as $50,000 off. Travel trailers starting as low as $179 a month. Credit. I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur, and always online. JohnstonRVCenter.com. Also, Champy's Chicken bringing you the show today. All right, let's start with what is the biggest story really in all sports. We would have started with this game either way. It's an early Fox game, but since it's first up, Michigan is 4.5-point favorites. Total of 45 at Penn State, the Fox Big Noon Kick. Lance, I'll start with you. You do not have a play on this game. It's an 11 o'clock game.
I wanted to play it. So did this drive you away a little bit? No. I mean, there are a couple of things. I mean, we've actually been pretty good 11 o'clock games that I've traditionally stayed away from this year, but there's just so much money on Michigan in this game. It's gone up to 5.5, by the way. I don't know if did you just check it?
Well, that 4.5 was earlier this morning at my bookie. I'll get you the latest.
Yeah, I think it's going to 5.5. I think there's some late money on it. I still think we're going to see Jim Harbaugh on the sideline. I don't think it matters one way or another. I think Michigan pops them, but that number is so small. It is a little scary. I just don't think Drew Aller can do anything against this defense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I don't know how much Penn State can score, and if Jim Harbaugh is ruled out, I mean, do you think that moved the number 1 point? I wouldn't think it moved it any way. And the way I'm reading the body language of Michigan as they're warming up on my TV screens here is they're going to take this as almost, this is personal. I don't want to go Deion Sanders here. This is personal. And I think this motivates Michigan to go out there and just whip Penn State till they handle it.
As far as the line movement, it went up. I'm saying there's probably sharp money that was just ounce, and they were waiting to see if this number did move at all based on the Harbaugh. And when it didn't, it just kind of stuck there at 4.5. I think they went on and jumped on it.
Yeah,
playing Michigan is what you're saying.
Yeah.
For those of us that are laymen's and don't really understand all the jargon, that means the smart money, even with Harbaugh not, is playing Michigan, correct?
Yeah, 4.5. 4.5 still at mybookie.ag, by the way. And Darren Ravel tweeted that it is the most popular bet today for Michigan to cover against James Franklin's team.
And that normally doesn't work out. It does sometimes, and we'll see in less than 2 hours what goes down here. I'm with Dunaway, though. I think Michigan's a much better team. You couple that with James Franklin's record against top 10 teams, and I just – you said it yesterday, Brown. This is the last thing Penn State really wants.
I agree. Yep. I think Penn State wanted this to be Maryland's problem next week. Let Maryland deal with all of this. I think Penn State wanted Jim Harbaugh on that sideline, everything to be normal. And you can tell if you watched what the Michigan players, the way they responded on social media last night, they're going to use this as a galvanizing moment. Now, it may not win them the game, but I do think they're going to use it as a galvanizing rally cry here. And I think Penn State would much rather this have been Maryland's problem next week, not theirs.
Yeah.
And I know we'll get to this game, but, this 11 o'clock window, if Alabama does what they can do and Michigan does what they can do, they could be a terrible window. Now, as soon as I say that, Kentucky will pull the upset, and so will Penn State. When you start to look at this, because I was trying to look at how I have first world problem here, I'm going to position my TVs today, and the 11 o'clocks, I'm like, wow. This is one of those, if you took away Alabama, Kentucky, or Michigan, Penn State, I'd probably sit upstairs in the living room and watch one game just by itself.
Yeah. I'll tell you, keep an eye on Texas Tech over Kansas. There's a chance the Red Raiders can get that one. And, I'm interested in Maryland and Nebraska on Peacock at 11 because that's bowl eligibility for Nebraska. And it's a tough game. I think Nebraska has a chance in that one. So not a great window. You're right. And, but there is sprinkled in there. Those two games are good. They watch good.
Well, let's talk about it. Alabama this morning, mybookie.ag, code next round there to get that 50% match up to $1,000 when you make your initial deposit. Mybookie.ag, code next round. Alabama 11 there at MyBookie. A total of 47 for the 11 a.m. ESPN game Dunaway. Reason you were doing the basketball game last night, that Crunchtime Sports Network crew up there for the early kick. It's the game. Alabama has always, I'm not going to say they've always struggled with it. There were times where they have that game after LSU. That LSU game is always so physical and emotional for Alabama. That game after has always been one you've worried about.
Yeah, and I almost played Kentucky. I don't know how Lance, if he's got to play on this one, but I almost played Kentucky because it's a big number. It's an early kick on the road. It's going to be colder than what Alabama usually plays in up there. Maybe some rain. And I think they focused so hard that Tennessee LSU stretch looked like such a big thing plus revenge that if you take a breath here, Mark Stoops is a good enough coach. If Devin Leary plays his best game of the year and they can get some runs from Ray Davis, I think they can keep this inside the number. It will make me feel great if Alabama just motorboats him today.
Here's the thing, Alabama, we're so used to, or your big brother's Alabama just completely rolling teams in the first half. Do you realize in 4 of 6 conference games, Alabama has trailed or been tied in those games? Yep. And in the second half, they've completely dominated in those games. So it's kind of the opposite formula from before. If Alabama could ever get out big on one of these teams, especially a team like Kentucky, where they're going to be a little offensively challenged, Alabama puts together a complete game. They can be dominant.
Yeah, I actually think, guys, Alabama benefits from this being a road game. I think a lot of people are like, oh, you got to go on the road. I think you benefit from that. I think a home game would have been a far easier game to come out flat. The crowd not near as engaged. Everybody talked to him. Jalen Milroe said it on our show. Terrion Arnold, Nick Saban has said it. Tyler Booker said it. Every two-way man. Everybody's like, hey, those last 2 home games, Tennessee and LSU, as good a home game as we've ever had at Bryant-Denny Stadium. As good a home crowd. You come back with Kentucky in there for an 11 a.m. kick.
Well, I think if you're Tommy Rees, you keep that ball rolling. You got a lot of confidence in Jalen Milroe. Milroe's got a lot of confidence now. And, I brought this up yesterday in that 5-year window from 18 to 22, Alabama top 500 yards of offense 44 times. And last week against LSU was the first time. So, you got a good defense. Keep building confidence with that offense. And this is a pretty good spot. You can do that.
Yep. All right, let's move on. That is Alabama, Kentucky, ESPN 11 a.m. Let's go to the Pac-10 network. You got to get your Uzi out for this one, LT. Arizona favored 10, 54.5 is the total as they are at Colorado.
Yeah, I ended up staying away from this game. And I really, really wanted to pull the trigger on Arizona. And I don't know. It's just – for whatever reason, Colorado is playing awful football, but they're finding a way to yuck it up enough to backdoor cover. And, we talked to our friend Todd Furman yesterday, and he said, Arizona goes from being an underdog in 3 straight games that they win outright to now being double-digit favorites on the road. If Colorado won this game, it wouldn't shock me, but Arizona is playing really good football right now. Jeff Fish has done a great job of that program.
And I agree, but the question is, does they ever sort of, what did you say this week? Water finds its level, Brown?
Water finds its level, yeah.
So Arizona, what are they, 6-3? Are they really a 7-3, 8-3, 9-3 team? Maybe they are. And they're playing their young QB2s, now they're QB1. At some point, you expect them maybe not to play their A game, and then Colorado just has enough athletes at home. I agree with you. That's a scary game. I thought about going either way on that game. I was like, I can see Arizona. Then I was like, nah, I may play Colorado. And then I was like, it's coin flip. Not going to play it.
That game is Pac-10 Network. I've not noticed this. Troy says, have you guys noticed the Pac-12 games have been streaming free on YouTube? That might help you on the Uzi there, LT. I didn't know that.
I have not noticed that.
I have not noticed that either.
Well, take a look at it. Pac-12 Network is.
I have not seen that at all. As far as games that are just exclusively Pac-12 Network, like Arizona, Colorado, but I'll take a look at it today. But I haven't seen that because it's been a pain in the ass.
It is the Johnston RV Saturday preview. Johnston RV Center, I-65, exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Today is Veterans Day. And on this show how we feel about veterans. We encourage you to go watch our interview with Sergeant Rocky Sickman, 440 days. The Marine was a prisoner of war in Iran and was in studio with us talking about Folds of Honor and his story. Phenomenal. It's right there on our YouTube channel, Next Run YouTube channel. Go watch that. Johnston RV Center loves the veterans too. They love the members of the military. They offer you a great discount. Whether you're active duty or retired military, the discount is the same. I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur, always online at johnstonrvcenter.com. And also our buddy right there, Dunaway at Champy's Chicken, our man Sterling cooking it up today.
Yeah, I've already seen pictures on our timeline from, I think it was Michael, who's already swung by and waiting on Sterling at the door to get a big order out today to go back and watch the games, the 11 o'clock Alabama kick. He does all that kind of stuff for you for your office parties, your holiday parties, tailgates, or just for a good lunch or dinner. Highway 119 in Alabaster, Southern Fried Chicken, brined overnight. My wife says it's the best dark meat chicken she's ever eaten. So juicy all the way down to the bone. Wonderful sides, hand-cut chicken fingers, and just great food right there. ChampysChicken.com, Highway 119 Alabaster.
And LT, Lance'sLock.com, you got 13 plays up today. 13 plays starting in the
time to turn this around. 2 half-point losses last night. Not a good night at all at Lance'sLock.com. But we do have 13 plays up. We've got I think 7 or 8 are during the day, and then I think it's 7 in the day, 6 in the night. So it's a good balance. They're all sides too. So jump on board and Lance'sLock.com. Try us out for the weekend. Free play every single day. We got a couple of 2-unit plays up. So Lance'sLock.com. Check it out.
Yeah, all sides. You said. I was wondering, were there a couple of totals you looked at today? Because there were a couple of games I thought, oh, maybe the total's the play there.
Yeah, I like that USC Oregon over. So this is just one I'll hand to you. I know it's like 76. A lot of money on that over, which scares me a little bit. And honestly, I just don't want to pull for Oregon scoring points. I know they're going to. But I really don't want to pull for it.
Well, one of the games you've got up is Utah at Washington. We were asked earlier, do you think Utah could pull the upset? I do. Utah at Washington, Lance. Washington this morning at mybookie.ag, an 8-point favorite, total of 49.5, 230 Fox game. Our boy Brock Heward on that one after he went crabbing yesterday. Sent us wine yesterday. He's doing the game today. Interesting game that could start a disaster scenario for the Pac-12.
Well, I mean, a couple of reasons I like this game, and I'll go on and give it to you because it is the free play. It's a 2-unit on Utah, and we've talked about this all week. It is scary because there's a lot of people that agree with you and I that Utah could pull this upset. But you go from playing a non-physical team in USC and going up and down the field to now you're playing one of the more physical teams in all of college football. And Utah is coming off a game where they held Arizona State to 83 yards. They scored 55 points. Bryson Barnes had his best statistical game as a quarterback. Utah, this is just not a spot I don't think you want Utah. I think Washington probably wins the game. But, this number 8.5 to 9.5, I think you're getting some value here with Utah.
Yeah, I feel like this is a Washington win. The fact that it's back in Seattle and just a Utah quarterback situation. Utah's 7-2, and Kyle Whittingham has won me over. You guys have given him great respect over the years. What he's done this year, just simply amazing. With Cam Rising, they're probably unbeaten right now in the conversation for the college football playoffs. I just think Washington, coming off those road games where they haven't played great, they've struggled. I think they get it right today offensively, get just enough points to beat the pig farmer.
The old pig farmer. The only one I would say Cam Rising might not have won the game was Oregon. Oregon was so good that day, but Lance, they would have been in the game. They weren't even in that game.
I'll say right now they're 8-1, but they're still picture to win the Pac-12, to maybe go to a college football playoff. Maybe the game plan's much different with Cam Rising playing against Oregon, but it is hard to look back and see 35-6 and how they could have won that game.
Yeah, but they would have been in it, to your point, Dunaway. There's no doubt they were right in that game.
They would have beaten Oregon State. I know they lost 21-7, but they definitely would have won that game with Cam Rising.
All right, Dunaway, I'll start with you on this one. This used to be the biggest game in the nation when they played it every year. Miami, Florida State. Right before we came on, I saw College Game Day documenting the Ole Miss field goals. I think reset in 12 years, 5 came down to a missed Florida State field goal, which is amazing. Today, though, Florida State is the prohibitive favorite, a 2-touchdown favorite at mybookie.ag. Florida State favorite 14, total of 51 for the ABC 230 game. This is another one, though, Dunaway, that would start some chaos. And you've got the spear on the page, so you like the Noles.
Tyler Van Dyke's been so bad. Their offense has gone back to where it was last year. I had some hope for this Miami team this year after the way they played Texas A&M early on this season. Florida State gets healthier at receiver. Keon Coleman is back. Jordan Travis has been, off the Heisman radar, but is playing really good winning football for them. And I think it comes down to the defensive line for Florida State just wreaking havoc on whoever's playing quarterback for Miami. Bad day for the Canes. Big day at Doak there in Tallahassee for Florida State.
15 straight wins for Florida State now, going back to last season. And 16 straight games, Jordan Travis has been responsible for multiple touchdowns. This is pretty crazy. If you go back to the turn of the century, I think they've played 24 games, and 17 have been decided by one possession.
Yeah.
So it hasn't really been on our radar because it's not the old Florida State-Miami games that we remember in the late 80s and the 90s. But these have been pretty good. I just think Miami offensively is lost right now.
That is one of the few games, though, Lance, I can look back on and say I made sure I was in front of a TV for that one. I was back in the day when you might get, I don't know, on a college football Saturday, maybe 10 total games on TV that I could watch. I was in front of that one for sure.
Yeah, got a lot of prime times. Did they play it on Labor Day a couple of times?
Yeah. Well, they did. That was after it had lost a little bit of its luster, I think. Okay. It was when it was an ACC game. That's the thing. Back when they used to play, there was a time where both of them were independents. This was independent versus independent. I think Florida State joined the ACC, and Miami was either independent or Big East. It has not been an ACC game forever, obviously. All right, that's 2:30 ABC. 2:30 CBS, Tennessee, LT, Missouri. Tennessee now a 2.5-point favorite, total of 58.5. As we discussed at the end of the show yesterday, Missouri actually opened as a slight favorite in this one. It's flipped all the way around, and Tennessee at 2.5 right now. As Furman likes to say, approaching that key number of 3.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about this game. I think Missouri's a better team. Tennessee a little more talented. Hard to believe. I think Brady Cook's the better quarterback in this matchup. Who would have thought that coming into the season? But Luther Burden III, how healthy is he? That's a major key.
Yeah, I think Missouri has the better quarterback, the better running back, and the better receiver. But Burden not playing could be the difference in this game. It comes down to Joe Milton to me. If you get first half against Alabama, Joe Milton, this is an easy win for Tennessee. But Joe Milton hasn't played like that a lot. He's got it in him. Too close to the call for me. If I had to play it, I'd play Tennessee.
UAB is on the road, Dunaway, 2.5-point favorite. 53.5 is the total as they play at Navy. CBS Sports Network for this one. 2:30 start time. The Veterans Day game in Annapolis. If you go back and watch our interview with Coach Trent Dilfer from Thursday on the show, very excited about that, but also very nervous about that rush offense he's about to face because their defense has not been good this year.
130th against the rush. That's what UAB is, and Navy likes to run it. Now, it's hard for you to sell me that Temple's going to play better defense than UAB is. And last week, Temple beat this Navy team by double digits. But it's in Annapolis. It's Veterans Day weekend. I expect UAB to make it close like they have most of the season, play a good game. I think Navy wins it, but it will not be a blowout at all. I think UAB hangs in there.
Yeah, UAB's just got to clean some things up. 10 penalties, a couple of turnovers last week. I know it was a win against Florida Atlantic, but yeah, this will be a different setting. I think something does play into this with Veterans Day. But Jacob Zeno, a guy that you talk to every Monday morning, the guy is playing
unbelievable,
borderline elite football.
Yep.
Yeah, lights out. Go watch that interview too. Cool story. He wanted to be a Navy pilot growing up, and his grandfather served in the military. He wanted to be a Navy pilot, and then he hit a growth spurt. He's like, I'm going to be too big to be a Navy pilot. So then he decided he was going to be an Army Ranger and try to be a Delta Force Army Ranger. And that was his whole life's ambition until he started playing football. And people were like, hey, you're a pretty good football player. And he basically said, I'm going to play this out and see if the NFL works out for me. And if not, I'm going to consider going back to that life. I mean, well, you got to respect that. A guy that's got the talent that Jacob Zeno has. And he's like, that is still something that appeals to me, is going and serving in the military.
Have you talked to him about his journey? Because I don't know it. I'm just asking how he ended up in Waco and then how he ended up in Birmingham.
I'm not. I have not. Maybe I can do that in a future interview. So, yeah.
I'll tell you, school record 485 yards last week. And that's saying something with a couple of quarterbacks that have come through UAB. He is playing good. That's why UAB's got a fighting chance. I don't know how many points Navy can score. And UAB, if they get a couple of the deep balls, they can do this. And Jermaine Brown becoming a weapon, catching the ball out of the backfield too.
All right, LT, let's go to the ESPN 230 game. Oklahoma State, coming off that big Bedlam win, has to hit the highway now. They're only a 2.5-point favorite this morning at mybookie.ag at UCF in the bounce house. The total for this game is 65.5, 230 ESPN kick.
This seems like one of those. I mean, I want to play Central Florida so bad. So this is one of those that I would take it and run because Central Florida, I think, wins this game. It's hard to go against Ollie Gordon right now and what he's been able to do in that Central Florida rush defense is not good. But John Rice Plumlee is a quarterback that can have big games. And I think in Orlando with Oklahoma State coming off that emotional – I don't think they could ever be higher for a game than they were when they came off the win against Oklahoma and Bedlam. So I think this is a flat spot for Oklahoma State. I like Central Florida.
Yeah, I like Central Florida too. It is a blank spot right now. Brown, breaking news right now, breaking news graphic. They've just announced Jim Harbaugh will not coach today. The ruling will not happen today on the restraining order, so he is not going to coach. They've delayed ruling on it, which is at that point the worst case scenario when you're trying to get a restraining order for an 11 o'clock kick for them to say, we're going to think about it overnight. That really does you no good.
That's surprising you got this deep in the week for this to be, for them to lay down this penalty. And then you would think if you filed the injunction, they would have to give you relief at least for today.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised he's not coaching.
To your point, LT, and I'm sure you're about to say this, Brown. I don't want to, maybe you're not, but it seems to me maybe the Big Ten waited to announce it when they did to sort of press the clock on the courts and the legal process to keep the restraining order from happening and getting him on the field.
Well, I think I don't know if you guys were paying attention to this last night, Lance. I know Dunaway, you were doing the basketball game, but initially the judge that had the case was a Michigan grad and a current Michigan lecturer, right? He lectures at Michigan Law School. And everybody was like, you got to be kidding me, because, of course, Michigan, they do their filing in a local court there. The court's in Ann Arbor. And everybody was like, no, the judge, that judge is not going to hear it. The judge that is on duty right now is this judge. Also Michigan grad, just not a Michigan lecturer, Lance. But the interesting thing was that judge also presided over the case that was Connor Stallions versus the Homeowners Association. So this judge had some sort of, it's just so wild how much of that was interlaced,
So where do you think? You think Harbaugh just watches the hotel?
I guess so. He traveled, so he's in State College. I mean, I guess so.
They actually had a police. They were talking about it on game day before we started. They had a police escort ready for the ruling to happen to move him quickly to the stadium to coach. That's what I expected to happen, was that it was going to be a dramatic entrance as the game was starting, him coming out and putting the headset on.
Yeah.
Boy, Dabo would love if that was him, wouldn't he?
He'd come running out as fast as he could. Do you guys remember when Bobby Valentine got tossed and he showed back up in the costume?
Yeah.
Like
the Brown Bandit.
Yeah.
If you couldn't get a temporary injunction today, maybe he is suspended for the rest of the year. I think we talked about this yesterday. I don't think it matters.
I don't know.
I mean, I think if you go see him play inspired football today, I don't know how it matters. I'm with you.
And for those that don't know, is it the rest of the regular season? Is it all the Big Ten games? Does it count the Big Ten championship game?
They said 3 games, remainder of the regular season. So we'll see what happens. I'm sure this will play out into next week. Platt gets the drama, though, this morning. He and Gus get the drama of that game, the big noon kick on Fox. I want to bring this game up. I'll start with you, Dunaway, only because I saw this morning that we have entered record territory, but I logged on to mybookie.ag. Rutgers is at Iowa, 2:30 Big Ten Network kick. Iowa 1.5-point favorite. Dunaway, the total at 27.5 this morning.
Yeah, and Lance, you brought this up too. 61% as of Friday during our show of the bets across the platforms were still betting the under in this game, which is amazing. And this is actually the total I thought you would go with, LT. I thought you would pop the over in this at 27.5. I really did.
No. I've seen this offense and I've seen their defense. So it's a combination that I kind of like Rutgers. I think you gave out Rutgers today, or I kind of do like Rutgers. I stayed away from the game altogether. I just thought there would never be a total in the 20s, and for people to run to the window to bet this under, man, that is insane. But I'm not going to be there when you cash a ticket on the over. I don't have a lot of faith in it.
Yeah,
if I had to play it one way, I would play the over. I mean, that's just, you get a couple of short fields.
That's right. I mean, you two bad offenses. And two pretty good defenses, relatively speaking, but I think Rutgers' defense is really darn good.
Well, think about this: you get a scoop and score, or a pick six, and then a special teams touchdown. You're halfway home.
Well, I mean, just a 3 and out when you start inside your 15 and you don't get an outstanding punt. Well, now you've got the ball basically in plus territory, and if you get one first down, you're taking a whack at a field goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Incidentally, I just checked to make sure it's still there. Iowa has moved to 2, but still at 27.5. All right, Lance, you got to play on this one before we go to the primetime slate. Auburn is at Arkansas. I find it interesting that you have a play on this game because we've talked all week about how this one is difficult. Yeah. Arkansas favored 2 this morning at mybookie.ag. A total of 49. SEC Network, 3 o'clock game. So something clicked for you between the end of the show yesterday and when you did your plays.
Yesterday, I started really looking at this game, and I've got a side on it. So that is, as you said, lanceslock.com. But I think it's a more important. Well, I think it's a really important game for both because Hugh Freeze has got this Auburn team, believing at least they're getting better. I know the last couple of weeks they played bad competition, but this is a situation on the road against Arkansas. Arkansas built a little confidence this past week against Florida. But if Sam Pittman drops this one against first-year Hugh Freeze, this is going – again, I don't think he's in jeopardy of losing his job, but he could be on a major hot seat going into next year.
Yeah, I mean, I go back to how close he's been in some of these big games, and it's easy to forget that. The 3, 7, and 3-point losses to LSU, Ole Miss, and Alabama. I like Auburn for some reason in this game. I don't know why. I guess I'm drunk on the fact that they handled Mississippi State and Vandy so well. Like you said, Brown, they'll become bowl eligible next week, likely against New Mexico State, though New Mexico State's having a pretty darn good year by their standards. Be a trickier game than most think. But in Jordan Hare, they'll get it. But I like Auburn today with Jarquez Hunter starting to run better, and I think they found out just go quick with Peyton Thorne, and if it's not there quick, just run the football.
Well, you'll be able to see that game, SEC Network, 3 o'clock, Auburn at Arkansas, and see what happens. One of 13 plays up at lanceslock.com today. This is the Johnston RV Center Saturday preview. It is presented by Johnston RV Center. Just back from the Forest River Expo, where they've seen all the great floor plans, and they are bringing those into both their lots, I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 indicator. But they got to make room. So the Call of Fall is on right now. You go see Fall in America in an RV from Johnston RV Center. You got travel trailers, fifth wheels on great deals there. Fifth wheels up to $50,000. Actually, in some cases, more than $50,000 discounted. Travel trailers start as low as $179 a month. And do not forget that lifetime warranty from RV Warranty for Everyone. Everything new and under 2 years used right there at Johnston RV Center. I-65 exit 304 in Coleman. 334 indicator, johnstonrvcenter.com. And everybody on the road, so you're not tailgating today, Dunaway, but it's a good time just to go hang out with Sterling and Champy's Chicken.
I say it all the time. It's perfect to just have a big to-go order to sit around and watch at home. It's a good opportunity to take advantage of that, or go in and watch the games. It's set up to where there's a couple of games in each window. Go plant yourself at the bar at a table there and enjoy the drinks and the food all day long.
All right, we're about to hit a lot of games Lance has plays on at Lance.
Well, I was going to say I got some player props for Alabama player props. I don't know if you've taken a look at those, Brown.
Oh, I have not. You want to do those right here? Do you need to sort them out?
Look, so I didn't play the game. Again, I didn't like this game. If I played it, I probably would lay it with Alabama. But Jalen Milroe is coming off, I know, as far as passing statistics, but I would say it was his best game. Would you guys agree?
Yes, overall.
Yes.
Yeah, the second half against Texas A&M, I mean, throwing the ball, he was fantastic. But I think overall that was his best game.
Well, so here are 3 props on him. His total passing yards, 228.5. Don't really have a lean on that. Over 1.5 touchdown passes. I think I would play that over. Now it's minus 165, so you're laying a little juice there, but didn't have a touchdown pass last week. Seems like they might change it up a little bit. But what do you guys think about 44.5 total rushing yards for Jalen Milroe?
That's all?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man, I mean, that feels like a hard over on that one, man.
Yeah, and it's only minus 125. It does. That's what it's kind of scary, man. I told you guys I played 2-player props last week. I don't know if you heard this, Dunaway. I played Stephon Diggs over 6.5 receptions and over 86.5 yards. 6 receptions, 86 yards.
Oh, God, that's horrible.
The over.
These guys are good.
Yeah. That's horrible. Well, that, you could look at it this way. It's big running week last week. Mark Stoops in the Kentucky sort of focuses on keeping him from beating you running, and that opens the door up for Jalen and Roydell and Jam, or for him to throw the ball. Maybe there's a matchup they like opposite of their NFL corner because they've got an NFL corner prospect on one side. Maybe they throw the other side and get a big Jermaine Burton or Isaiah Bonde. A couple of ways to look at it, but I think Alabama's in for a fight. Not comfortable about this game at all.
Let's get to these games in the primetime window. Lance got a lot of plays here at lanceslock.com. Lance, let's start with where game day is right now. It is raining, ugly day in Athens. I think that's supposed to clear out for the night game, though. 6 o'clock ESPN, Ole Miss at Georgia. The Dogs, LT this morning at mybookie.ag, a 10.5 point favorite, a total of 58.5. Play up at lanceslock.com.
Ole Miss has played 14 games against the number 1 team. You know what their record is?
All time in the history?
Yep.
I think there's something in one. Didn't they tie Notre Dame one time when I was a kid?
They are
like something 0-1.
0-14 all time against number 1s.
Okay.
12 of those 14 times they've lost by 14 plus. Georgia does this with competition, and I think they look next to it. They see a top 10 team. They talk about people are saying, Ole Miss has an opportunity to win their first game in Athens since 1996. I think Georgia rolls.
Yeah, I do too. I almost played it, but then I didn't want the landmine effect here because I don't know why. Like I saw our friend Ashley, who is an Alabama grad who watches and loves the show, and she picked Ole Miss and was wearing an Ole Miss T-shirt in a big reveal there on her social platform last night. And I was wondering, are Alabama fans hoping for an upset here? I mean, you guys said it. I think you want Georgia to be the beast when you play them in Atlanta, if you can get to Atlanta, if everything is still intact. So I didn't want to, pick Georgia and Ole Miss pull the upset here, but I'm with you. I think Georgia just mows them.
Now, I would think Alabama fans want Georgia undefeated number 1 when they play them, but so a lot of people just like the chaos, man. They don't care what happens. They just like the chaos.
Here for the chaos.
Yeah. Dunaway, West Virginia at Oklahoma. The resurgent West Virginia Mountaineers go to Oklahoma. Coming off that Bedlam loss, 11.5 point favorites. The Sooners are at home this morning. MyBookie.ag, a total of 60.5. That's a 6 o'clock Fox kick.
If West Virginia wins it, they'll do it running the football. A couple of good running backs there for them. I'm on the wrong side of this. This is back to upset alert earlier this week, and I rushed the West Virginia pick. As the week has moved on, if I was playing a side here, it'd be Oklahoma. I think Dylan Gabriel has a big bounce back game, and they take it to West Virginia and they cover the spread. I like Oklahoma in this one, and Sooners I guess can still get to the Big 12 championship game with some help.
Yeah, this is one I stayed away from, Brown. But if I had to play it, I probably would lay it and take Oklahoma.
Yeah,
their defense trending in the wrong direction after looking so good early on.
Yep, I agree completely. You do have a play on this one, Lance. Primetime NBC game, 6:30. Before I even looked at your plays, I'm like, do we include this one or not? Because it is a big number. But Ohio State at home playing Michigan State, NBC, 6:30. After the Penn State-Michigan thing is all sorted out, Ohio State sits there and watches that and then goes to the stadium to play this sleepy game against Michigan State.
Yeah, I don't know how excited Ohio State fans are about this. I think they're more excited about watching and pulling against Michigan this morning. But much like you brought that up that we said Alabama fans really should be pulling for Georgia, if I'm an Ohio State fan, I want Michigan undefeated.
I agree.
That's the way I want that game. With all that said, Ohio State's won 7 consecutive games against Michigan State by an average in those 7 games, almost 30 points per game. They have completely dominated this. But guess what? This number is what, 31.5, did you say?
I saw it 31 this morning at mybookie.ag, total of 47. That's what was weird about this. This is one reason I didn't even know you had to play on it. I was going to include it because when you see a number of 31 and a total of 47, they ain't expecting much out of Michigan State, are they?
No, because I mean, what would you say the total is?
47, and Ohio State's minus 31.
Yeah, so they're thinking that they're probably going to shut them out. I would think a team total is probably 6 for Michigan State. I'll see if I can pull that real quick.
That's pretty sad, Dunaway.
But I mean, think about 38-7. You're pushing, and that's 45 points.
Yep.
Mark D'Antonio is not walking through that door, and that was the good part of this rivalry back in that day. Not walking through that door. Michigan State's a boring team to watch, man. I put them in the same category I do with Northwestern, Indiana, Iowa. It's just boring football. I hate it for Ohio State and Michigan fans that they've got to play so many of those type teams every week.
You know what has been bad football is that NBC primetime game. Like they've got that Big Ten primetime, and I have watched very, very little of that.
One good game.
And it wasn't even really the Big Ten deal. It was their Notre Dame package with Ohio State at Notre Dame.
Yep.
I mean, I love Todd Blackledge. I can't. It's like I'm not even watched that guy this year because he's on that NBC primetime game. It's like a bad game.
Like he's got the year off. But you know that primetime NBC. I don't know how many USC games they'll get, but they should get a lot of them.
I would hope. Did you find the team total there, Lance? Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah, I'm looking for it now. It's gone up to 32.
Wow.
Total of 47.
Yeah. NBC 6:30 for that one. Johnston RV Center brings you the show. I-65 exit 304 in Coleman. 334 indicator, always online. JohnstonRVCenter.com. They're just back to the Forest River Expo with great vehicles. Go see American and RV from Johnston RV Center. I-65 exit 304 in Coleman. 334 indicator. A reminder, we give you the lines from mybookie.ag. Play all these games at mybookie.ag. Code next round. Mybookie.ag. Code next round. That code gets you a deposit match of 50% up to $1,000. You make a deposit, they match it at 50% up to $1,000 when you use code next round at mybookie.ag. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. Mybookie.ag. Code next round.
I'm finding team totals for almost everyone. I guess it's just such a big number. Like Alabama's team total is 30 today. Kentucky 17.
Wow. Okay. Let's go to another game you got to play on, Lance. I'll start with you again. Mississippi State at Texas A&M. A&M this morning an 18-point favorite. A total of 42 in this one. It is an ESPN2 6:30 kick. We were just discussing at the end of the show yesterday the job status of the losing coach in this game. And I do think it's one of those situations with all the speculation swirling around Zach Arnett and the constant speculation around Jimbo Fisher. The loser of this game could be in some serious job jeopardy.
Well, I'm going to be, whether they cover or not, we'll see. It's going to be hard for me to believe Mississippi State can win on the road in College Station against these athletes. With all that said, I think Jimbo's done at the end of the year. I think you guys have agreed with that. And I think probably the more people talk about that small buyout number for Zach Arnett, if they can get the right guy, I think these are kind of two dead men walking on the sidelines today.
I agree with you on both of those. Zach Arnett is a from every account, a wonderful guy and a really up and coming coach forced into a bad situation. And that buyout they did that buyout for a reason. That contract was done. It was like, we're in a bad situation with Mike Leach. We're going to let you coach the team. And here is basically a glorified coordinator contract is basically what it was. Yeah. Somewhere between being a coordinator and a head coach. Here you go. With this in mind, we even at Mississippi State could buy this one out if we want to.
Yeah, but I do feel like the loser of this game, the clock, if it's Jimbo, if Jimbo loses to State, it might be tonight. That one may not even see the end of the year at that point.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, because you want to get your name in the mix, right? You don't want I don't know who you guys would think would be in the mix, but you don't want to Florida to get into the discussion and try to beat you to the punch. You don't want someone else maybe to get into the discussion. Michigan to open up, and maybe it's Lance Leipold you want. all of a sudden Michigan's out there and Texas A&M's out there, and you don't want to be battling them. You get your name out there and do one of those backroom deals early on. That's what I would do if I was Texas A&M if that went down today.
Well, I think there's also something about the embarrassing Jimbo a little bit. Hey, it's going to cost us a lot of money. We'll fire him in season. That's to me, that's like a the scarlet letter when you get fired in season.
I agree,
and I could see them do that to Jimbo. I don't know though. It's going to be tough to see a path to victory for Mississippi State. When you said that about Florida and Michigan, I mean, A&M's probably the best of those three jobs. I know the other two have got the history, but to me, if I'm looking at resources and I'm looking at a place with the ability to win a championship where nobody else has done it, and you can create your own, I guess, Clemson with Dabo.
Yeah. Don't we? I mean, Georgia was sort of this way all these years. It was always considered a sleeping giant. But there's something about, I mean, Florida, they've won a lot of championships, but there's something about what Florida is now. And there's something about what Texas A&M has always been that's kept them from being good. And, Georgia had that Herschel Walker year, but in my lifetime, Georgia was a bunch of good, never great until Kirby got there.
Well, you mentioned Florida, Dunaway. Let's discuss them. They are a 14.5-point underdog at LSU tonight. 67 is the total. 6:30 SEC Network. Jaden Daniels will start tonight, according to Pete Thamel, for LSU, which is why you see them as a 2-touchdown favorite, Dunaway.
Yeah. Jaden Daniels plays, LSU wins. In fact, against what has at times become a leaky defense for Florida, keep in mind, Arkansas put, I think, 39 on them last week. Those boys will eat this week for LSU as long as Jaden Daniels. In fact, if they go back up in Nussmeier, I still think LSU covers this game.
Yeah, I don't know if they cover with Nussmeier. I think they win the game. And this is, I guess you just referenced Florida being potentially open. I think Billy Napier is going to have some problems because after this, we'll see what Missouri does today, but they've got to go to Columbia, and then they close out against Florida State in Gainesville. You lose 3 consecutive games, which would be a 5-game losing streak to end the season. You're sitting at 5-7. That is one of the more impatient fan bases in all of America.
Lance State.
It looks like Lance. Lean back again, Lance. It looks like Lance is our guest picker. And we're trying to keep his identity hidden. It got a little bit more light on his face there, but during that whole comment, it was a solid black.
It's so weird. Like I'm out
there
on my screen then, and
there
the light's the exact same. So I don't know what's coming and going here. There's no sun out.
Okay, do not move. Do not move. Let me get a picture. Get back in here. I wanted you to get a picture to save it. It's like, okay, I got it. We move now. It's funny.
Let's stay in the Lone Star State, Lance. Texas, 12.5-point favorite, total of 55 at TCU, 6:30 ABC game. This is another one we talked about in Florida State, Miami, some of these Big Ten games, Washington, Utah. You want to throw a kink in everything. Let TCU win this game, and the Big 12 is their goose is cooked.
Well, since joining the Big 12, they're 8-3 against Texas. Sonny Dykes is 3-0 all time as a head coach against Texas. Texas has won 5 straight road games, and the big news for the Longhorns is Quinn Ewers is back in the lineup. And I don't know how healthy he is. I was talking to our friend Chip Brown in Austin about this. Is it one of those where they know Malik Murphy's lost his confidence? The offense is not going to do much with him. And are they like to the trainers and doctors, how healthy is he? Well, he's 75%. We believe he can go. Well, let's just roll him out there at 75 or 80%. I don't know. If that is the case, I think TCU's got a shot to make it interesting. If Malik Murphy was starting, I really liked TCU in this spot. But TCU has had their number. So we'll see what happens here. We're going to get an upset today. We're going to get a double-digit upset. I just don't know which one it is.
It's crazy. I mean, this is a legit shoulder injury, right? So that's as the game goes, I mean, your passes, it's Drew Brees, where remember Drew Brees played the end of that year where really he couldn't throw a 15-yard pass. Is that a lighter?
I got candles real quick.
Candles.
I'm like, wake and bake. No, that's not me. Candles.
This
is an old school big lighter.
Yeah.
So I don't know how these are around my house all the time. And I do have a ton of candles, and I've got the long lighters for obviously gas grills and things like that. But I guess they still sell these at convenience stores.
Yeah. I mean, probably
is that like a special one you've had it since the 90s and it has never run out of fluid?
No, you remember I had a lot of guests this past weekend, so there are things like this all over my house.
Oh, okay. So that one came from California.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Just a couple more games to get to here. Lance, you've got to play on this one. It is a great basketball rivalry. It's got some football meaning today, though. Duke at North Carolina. The Hills, a 12.5-point favorite, total of 51.5. 7 o'clock ACC network game tonight. That play up at lanceslot.com.
This is going to be one of those seasons. If North Carolina closes with 3 wins, they're going to look back and say, how in the hell did we blow our season on Georgia Tech and Virginia?
Yep.
Because, 9 times out of 10, they beat those teams. And, Duke's going to look back in that Riley Leonard injury against Notre Dame and that crazy 4th and 17 or 4th and 16 loss that they had there at the end. But Riley Leonard can't stay healthy right now. Even if he could stay healthy, the better quarterback by far is Drake May in this game. We'll see what happens, how it plays out. It's a big number for this rivalry, though, and that's a lot of points to give a Mike Elko defense.
It really is, but I almost played North Carolina because my little, that I shared, go back and watch Thursday night show. I shared my little criteria of games I look at, and North Carolina fit right in there perfectly. And I thought they could score some points tonight against Duke if they're offensively challenged, if they play their third string quarterback again. But I'm with you. I didn't play it because Mike Elko, it's hard to imagine them getting beat by more than 2 touchdowns. I tell you, Vandy and South Carolina go early today. That Vandy team's walking in on my big screen over here. That's a scary game for South Carolina. I love me some Shane Beamer. This would be a disastrous year for him if they lost to Vandy today.
Rainy there too. Boy, it's rainy through a lot of the Southeastern Conference, so I don't know if that'll
happen. I like this rainy weather today. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah. I'm looking at Kentucky walking in and Alabama right now. Sunny skies, it looks like, in Lexington, but cooler temperatures.
Yeah, I had the fire pit going last night, and then it started raining, so I had to tap out of that. But outside of that, I like this. This is the fall weather I like.
Your new fire pit? Your backyard fire pit?
Yeah.
Was that the first time you fired it up?
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. I wanted to ask you, LT and Brandy, y'all remember, and this is old, so y'all may not, but before we had the internet and forecasts were available, everyone would watch the CBS pregame show.
Oh yeah,
on NFL Sundays, because they would show the weather for every NFL game. And that was such an important thing for bettors. Like seeing Kentucky now walk in with Alabama and that it's sunny could influence some bettors, and seeing rain at South Carolina Vandy.
So they had a meteorologist. I mean, I forgot who the girl's name was on the early CBS broadcast with Brent Musburger and Irv Cross. I forgot what her name was, but I mean,
didn't Phyllis George do the weather too?
Yeah.
I mean, she was Miss America.
Yeah.
And then she was on the show, did great interviews, but I think she was the one that also walked over to the weather wall.
But about 15 years ago, Fox had Jillian Barbary on there. I don't know if you guys remember.
Oh, I do. Yeah, 100%.
She was doing the weather. And, now, I mean, all you got to do is flip on the app.
Yeah. Hey, but you're right. She was really good. I loved her personality. I wonder where she went.
That's where Brent Musburger developed.
I got a great story, by the way, Dunaway.
Yes. What is it?
I mean, so when I did play-by-play out in Kansas, our manager, one of his best friends was her former husband, Brett Barbary, who played for the Orioles and played for the Marlins. And so when I moved out to LA, we just got to hang out with her a few times. She's fun.
Yeah. I have a feeling we'll get the rest of that story some other time.
No, I mean, it really, I kind of hesitated there, but I mean, it wasn't that. I mean, it was just because she was doing, I think it was called Good Day LA.
Yeah.
And that's what she was doing out there when they discovered her on Fox and got her to do more stuff. I don't know what she's doing now. I think she has health struggles.
Oh, no, that's unfortunate.
Oh, no.
Where Brent Musburger developed the phrase, "you were looking live," because they wanted him to establish the fact on that show that is a live shot from the Meadowlands or, Busch Stadium in St. Louis or, the Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta or whatever. And he would do "you were looking live."
Yeah. So they knew that at that moment in time, that's the weather if you're placing your bet.
Yep. And he just kept it when he started doing games. All right. Final game of the day, USC at Oregon, Dunaway. The Ducks, a 16-point home favorite at mybookie.ag. Lance mentioned this total earlier, Dunaway. It is 77. You got the Duck. You like that duck? Get that duck out of here.
I went aggressive jumping duck too today.
He's upset. He's a pissed off duck.
Yeah, he's jumping
Fox
at you.
9:30. Fox at 9:30.
I listened to on the drive down yesterday a lot of people around the country, and they're making a case for USC mainly because Caleb Williams is that good, but people are counting on a new defensive coordinator calling different defensive plays. There's starting to be a conversation that the talent is not as bad as the performance, and that some of it was just the way Alex Grinch was calling defensive plays. And we will, to me, it was how bad they tackle, but we'll see if it is, it's maybe just some simpler schemes or better schemes, and they somehow play with Oregon. If this game was in LA, LT, the number wouldn't be that big, obviously, but I would like USC having a better chance than I do with this one being in Autzen.
Yeah, I mean, this thing to creep up to 16, that is a massive number. Yeah, I don't think they've got any shot at winning this game. I mean, I say that their offense can actually score a lot of points. And this is a funny story. So unlike with Brock Heward, we were talking about Sean Nua, the defensive line coach that's taking over this defense. And he said that they were there, I think it was either last year or earlier this year. And they were at a USC practice, and one of his Fox cohorts says, that's the best looking dude they've got on the defense. And it was Sean Nua, the defensive line coach. and they're just so undersized. And, he was just talking about Nua's just a jacked up guy, and you'll see him on the sidelines tonight. But you can't go from over the last 6 games giving up 44 points per game and just have like a magic potion, especially against a Bo Nix and an Oregon offense. So if this team to 35, 40, I think they could get out of there with a win if they hold them to under 38 points.
You know what's interesting? What's interesting, Brown, is I saw earlier today the new betting odds for the Heisman is Penix and Bo Nix the favorites now at plus 160. And how big? And Lance and Brown, y'all explain this to me. How big? And don't explain it to me, but you would echo the thoughts. I assume 9:30 on main Fox and a window by yourself tonight against a brand like USC. This is big night for Bo Nix to not just get to New York, but to maybe set up a stage where it's Penix versus Bo Nix in the Pac-12 championship game. Winner takes the Heisman.
Yeah, no, I can see that scenario. So I definitely think Bo is playing in front of a lot of eyes, a lot of voters tonight. But also watch this. Nobody's really talking about J.J. McCarthy. And I don't know if there would be a voter bias against Michigan and what's going on. But if J.J. McCarthy goes out today, everybody continues to say Michigan has played absolutely nobody. But Penn State is a really good defense. And if you were to go into there and you were to carve them up, and a lot of it is on J.J. McCarthy making throws today, he's going to be a guy that will creep into that conversation quickly.
Brown, who's the guy that used to be with CBS and writes with the Indianapolis Star?
Greg Doyle.
Greg Doyle. Yeah. Greg Doyle. Tell everybody what he wrote.
Well, he said that he's not voting. He will not put J.J. McCarthy on his ballot because he feels like he has basically he's had success in some part due to Michigan's cheating.
Yep.
So he's going to punish J.J. McCarthy for what Jim Harbaugh was doing. I thought that was a grandstanding move.
That's stupid.
Just don't put him on your ballot. You don't have to explain.
I mean, I know people are stupid. That's why I brought up. I hadn't seen Greg's article, but I assume there's going to be voters out there that they're just going to be like, "Hey, we're anti-Michigan."
Yeah,
I am pro Michigan today. I hope they roll Penn State.
Well, it is Pete Thamel is added to the report now. Apparently, the hearing will not be until next Friday. So the hearing is going to be almost in a full week from now, right? They go play Maryland.
Yeah, I mean, why is it a temporary restraining order at that point? If we're waiting, that's not temporary at all. Let's go ahead and do the full trial if we're going to wait until next Friday.
And really, you're holding that entire team hostage and the coaching staff and everything else. So you're going to sit there and try to have a normal routine week, but then Friday you're going to have this hearing to see whether or not the head guy can be out there. That's so stupid.
But Auburn dealt with it that whole year. Remember, I mean, it was something every week for about a month and a half near the end, when it was obvious Auburn was playing their way towards a national championship, something was different every week, that Cam Newton may be suspended, or they said this, or is the SEC going to stay? I mean, there was something every week that just kept that churning, and they survived it and won a national championship. So we'll see what Michigan does.
And I'll say this real quick: if the ruling does not go his way and they appeal, the very next week you're into Thanksgiving week, which will be a shortened calendar. Yeah. So, this could potentially, even with questions, drag on into the Ohio State game.
So what do you guys think happens in this early game? And Brown, I'm going to say you probably don't care, but Dunaway, as an Alabama fan, are you pulling for or against Michigan? Because I know you like pulling for villains.
I do like Assholes and Villains, which would be a great name for a game, by the way. Assholes and Villains.
That can be your autobiography one day.
That's a good one. I like that. It would be a good T-shirt, Lunsford. Assholes and Villains. I'm hoping for a little chaos, not involving Alabama today. I mean, it would be fantastic to me if Utah beat Washington and USC upset Oregon. That would just clear out the Pac-12 for a path, and I'm going to put on a Miami Hurricane T-shirt at some point today if Florida State got pushed out of the way. But Michigan, Penn State, it doesn't matter to me how it plays out. I do sort of want to see Michigan rail them today because of the way this has played out.
I don't know why, Lance, but I kind of like having that James Franklin talking point that he never can win these big games. I don't know why. I don't have any strong feelings about James Franklin, but
I heard I think it was Bobby Carpenter. I was listening. I was going to pick up some breakfast this morning, and he was like, I kind of like Franklin. He's kind of a used car salesman, and he can't really coach in big games, but I kind of like that guy.
That's who you want running your program.
Yeah.
Used car salesman can't coach big games. Yeah, that's who I want. All right, a lot of things to remind you of. Lance'sLock.com. Lance, you got 13 plays up right now for today's action at Lance'sLock.com.
Jump on board, Lance'sLock.com. Free play 2-unit right now, Utah on the road, catching 8.5, 9.5, wherever that number ends up settling. But we've got 13 plays up. Let's have a great Saturday. It's been a couple of weeks since we've had a really good Saturday. So really, really would love to get out of here with a 10-3 today.
And always, you can play those games at mybookie.ag. Code next round at mybookie.ag, where you can bet anything, anytime, anywhere. And when you use code next round, as you make your initial deposit, they'll match with a 50% bonus up to $1,000, 50% up to $1,000 at mybookie.ag. Great food today, Dunaway. Great food today at Champy's Chicken.
Champy'sChicken.com. Just saw the sign. You knew there'd be one of them. Some guy held up, Jim Harbaugh stole my other sign at game day.
That's an easy one.
That's an easy one. Champy'sChicken.com, Highway 119 in Alabaster. Always Sterling, a tremendous guy. LT, I think after Michigan, Penn State, Alabama, Kentucky goes final would be a good time for a post-game show, and then maybe EG and I could jump on right after the Auburn game, or you could join us there too for a short one of those. What do you think about post-game shows, Brendan?
Yeah, I was about to bring it up. So I got some people coming by, but they'll just they'll have to be background, right?
Yeah. How about just two little short ones afterwards? We knock out about 15 minutes each on the early window and the 2:30 window.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. I'm going to watch them Jays up, baby. Jays up, South.
Hey, that stadium, my daughter was there for a brief time, and just being on campus and never inside of that stadium, but just seeing the outside. It's a beautiful facility.
Yeah, cool little spot.
Brown, you take the rest of the day off, man.
Okay,
you take the rest of the day off.
Johnston RV Center, I-65 exit 304 in Coleman, 334 in Decatur. Always online, JohnstonRVCenter.com, JohnstonRVCenter.com. Thank you, boys. Y'all have a fun college football Saturday. And Lance, Jim, EG, and the whole gang will see you coming up a little bit later on. And we'll talk to you all Monday.
All right.